Welcome to the only podcast for piano teachers just starting out, Piano Teacher Primer. My name is Angela Toon. Keep listening for the prime pro tips you can use with your own students right away. Episode 27, Fingering Tricks. I remember many years ago, a transfer student had his right hand on C position, and the music called for an A right above that G. He literally asked me, is it that note right there? How do you play that? How do you get there? And I patiently showed him, just stretch your hand a little bit and stretch your pinky up to the very next note, and then you'll be able to play that note. Or have you ever had a student see a fingering written in or printed, and they play the finger that is just sitting on a note? They don't notice the note, they just notice the finger number that's written there, and they just randomly play a note, but it's actually a different note than the one that finger is sitting on. I've had that many times too. So some of these challenges have grown some solutions that I've come up with. And so I have these fingering tricks to show you. If you're listening on audio, I have this podcast on video on YouTube or Spotify video podcast, and I'm also going to put together a reel on Instagram so that you can have a visual on these things. You may know that I start students off right from the beginning by playing all over the keyboard. I have 2 rote pieces that my piano teacher in high school taught me how to teach. You can watch me teach these pieces on video. It's a free video with one of my cutest little students, and it's on angelatoon.com. It's totally free. Even with this foundation though, try as I might, some students still get a little stuck in the beginner positions, like middle C position, G position, and I need to teach them. Real music does not live in positions. Real music does not live with one finger on each note. Yes, and we can start there, and some students get pretty good in those positions, but then once it breaks out of those positions, they struggle. So when students grow and their music starts to break out of these set positions, I invented some of these tricks to identify what their hand needs to do to prepare for the next note. Many of these notes are in a different location, and so it requires preparation before the note is played. First, just circling the fingering. It's kind of obvious, but if there's a finger in a different position anytime, anywhere, if they're missing it, or if it's a newish piece and I'm introducing the piece, I will circle that fingering. So it's kind of alerts the students that their eyes need to look at that note. Also, I know I'm circling the fingering, but I want them to notice the note. But by circling the finger, it's like, oh, it's not in its normal position. I need to look for something different. Okay, so I'm going to show you some of these other tricks, and we're going to use the Masterwork Classics book today. And as you can see, it's well loved and well used in my family. This is level 1-2, which I love because it's the easiest classical music that's original form that I can find pretty much. Okay, we're going to first look at Trumpet Tune by Duncombe. And this is one of my favorite tricks. I have vivid memories of my mom saying to me, same note, different finger. And a lot of kids, when they see this too, they're just going to play the note that 2 is sitting on, which is middle C. But if they see this equal sign, so I draw an equal sign and then I circle the new finger. And then I explain why are we doing this. It's so that it crawls the hand up, so that they're able to put their 5 on the next C. So same note, different finger. Next we're going to go to Bagatelle by Diabelli. And it has like a broken chord stretched out like an arpeggio at the beginning here. So I would write to remind them to stretch out their hand bigger than its normal position, which when they very first start is usually like a 5th, right? This has got to go all the way up to an octave. And I wouldn't give this to a student who can't reach this comfortably, but I'll just write stretch if this is new for them, but pretty soon they learn what this means. And then I will circle a finger if they're missing it. So I'll just add more markings if they're missing it. But they need to stretch before the note is actually played. So I think this marking helps them to look ahead and know that they're gonna be playing a bigger interval than they're expecting, and then they can see it before it's too late. This next one I call a scrunch. So I'm using Dance by Shite, I think is how you say it. And we have 1 on C, treble C I call it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 1, and then the 5 is gonna be on the E. So I circle the 5 and I write this little, looks like a little M or something. I call it the scrunch. And this helps the student prepare. Instead of stretching, it helps them to contract the hand and put the 5, because a lot of students, when they see that 5, they might accidentally go to this G again. So this reminds them, hey, it's not where the 5 is sitting, it's going to be on the E instead. So they need to scrunch their hand into a smaller position, and then I tell them why, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So we can do all 5 of those notes going down without having to cross over. Final trick is the crossover, and we use this in scales, and I talked about it in my How I Teach Scales class. So if you missed it, don't worry, I taught a live masterclass on Zoom, but I recorded it, and it's posted on angelatoon.com. So I'm going to use Light and Dark by Kabalevsky, and we have 1 on treble G, and then there is a 3rd finger on the F right below it. So I circle that 3, and then I write this arrow. I think the music said 4, but I went ahead and changed it to 3 so they can go 3, 2, 1. And I would love to hear your fingering tricks that you have come up with, and then we can help each other help these students with tricky fingering passages. Thanks for joining me on this episode. Teaching piano has given me a fun and fulfilling way to add to my family income. With over 20 years of experience, I've put together my best advice into the Piano Teacher Primer course. It gives the motivation to start teaching and the confidence to keep going. We can multiply the joy of music and multiply income at the same time. Visit angelatoon.com and together we'll change the world one student at a time.